Okay, we're going to start today Daf Yud Zayin with Aleph. We finished off yesterday. We're up to Daf Zayin with base all the way at the bottom. Tashima. It's 4 lines from the bottom of the page. Tashima. So we're asking a question, in the middle of asking a question on Rav, which Rav says that liquid doesn't become tummy. Says the Gemara, Tashima, we can ask a question on Rav, and it says an advice like this. After the first Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, so the Yidden were in exile for 70 years, and then they came back. So there was a lot of the Navi over there. His name was Chagi, and Chagi wanted to test the Kahanim to see if they remember the rules of Beis Hamikdash, because 70 years passed, and they weren't dealing with the dinim of Tuma and Tara. So he asked them a bunch of questions, which to see if they remember the rules. One of the questions was like this. The pasuk says like this. He asked them, "Hein yisa ish b'sar kodesh b'knaf bigdei." What's the din if a kohen would be holding meat of a carbon inside his pocket or inside his cloak? The naga b'knaf el alechem, the naga b'knaf el alechem, and then he touched a piece of bread. Then the piece of bread touched lentils. Vel hayayin, and then the lentils touched wine. Vel hashemen, and then the lentils touched, and then wine touched oil. Vel kol machelek, they show or touched any other kosher food, any other holy food. So what would it be the din? Would it be tummy or not? And the Kainim said that it's not tummy. Okay, so basically he asked them. He just wanted to remind them. They wanted to see if they're bucking the rules of Hekdesh. So he asked them a case like this. The case was, just repeat the case, that if a person touched a person's sleeve, let's say, touched a rat, and then he touched the rat, which is an avatuma, and then that sleeve touched bread, so the bread now becomes a rishon, and then the bread touched a lentil, so the lentil becomes a sheni, and then the lentils touched wine of the mizbeach, which the wine becomes a shlishi, and the wine is a shlishi, and then the wine touched oil of the mizbeach, and the oil is a revi. The question is the oil tame or not? Meaning, can a 3rd degree tuma make something holy tame 4th degree? So that was the question Chagi asked him. Anyway, so Rav says, all at the top of his animal, Rav says, Ishtabash kahani. The maskana, the pasuk doesn't tie chest if they were right or they were wrong. That is, the pasuk just says the question he asked them. Rav says the Kehanim made a mistake. The Kehanim said that he's toy. Rav says that no, he's tummy. What do we see from here? And the Nakuda is that, I'm not getting into all the din of that. The Nakuda is that one of the case Chagi asked them was, what if can oil become tummy or not? So if oil becomes tummy, is mashma that liquid can become tummy. So if liquid will become tummy, that's a contradiction to Rav. We have a pasuk that is a contradiction to Rav, that oil could become tummy. Rav says liquid can become tummy. So how can Chagi say that oil could become tummy? Says the Gemara, Midi hu taimo el firav. You're asking a question on Rav. Rav mashke beis mit b'chayaton. Ava mashke beis mat b'chayat matame. When Rav said that liquid can never become tummy, he was talking about the blood in Beis Hamikdash. Regarding other liquids like oil and wine, Rav agrees that in the Rabbanan, even in Beis Hamikdash, they are tummy. So you can't make a question from that pasuk to Rav. So now the Gemara is going to delve into this case of Chagi asking the Kahanim dinim of tum. Says the Gemara, Gufa, we just mentioned before, Rav Omar Ishtabash Kahani. Rav said the Kahanim made a mistake. They were wrong by their judgment. Shmuel says they didn't make a mistake. Again, the case was, the question is whether a 3rd degree tumah can make something holy tummy. Usually, a 3rd degree tumah cannot make a revi. Tumah only transfers 3 degrees. It cannot make something a 4th degree. The question is if regarding Hekdesh, you can make it a tummy or not. So Rav said that the Kahanim answered they could, but they're wrong, and the din is they can't. Shmuel said the Kahanim didn't make a mistake and they were right. What does that mean? The Gemara explains. Rav Amar Ishtabush Kahani. Rav says the reason why the Kahanim made a mistake was because the Kahanim said that it becomes tummy, and the din is Revi Bakedesh Ba Minayu. Since Chagi asked them, what's the din for a Revi Bakedesh? Meaning, can something which is a 4th degree tumah become tummy or not? V'amnu tar in the Kahanim said he's tired, and Rav's machadesh that the din is that he's tummy. By Hagdish is tummy, even though usually a third degree tumah does not make a fourth degree tumah. But by Hagdish it does. So the Kahanim were wrong by saying that start. What's Shmuel's reason for saying that the Kahanim were right? Because Shmuel says, the Kahanim never made a mistake. Why didn't the Kahanim make a mistake? Because the question, they're arguing, Rav and Shmuel are arguing, what was the question Chagi asked them? Rav said the question was, can a third degree make a fourth degree tummy? And the Kahanim said they cannot become tummy. And the answer is that they could become tummy. So the Kahanim are wrong. Shmuel says the question was, the question was, can a fourth degree make a fifth degree tumah or not? And the Kahanim said that it cannot. And according to Shmuel, that's Tar. Okay, so they're not arguing in the din, they're just arguing what the question was. According to Rav, the question was, can a third degree make a fourth degree tumah? And the answer is it could, and therefore the Kahanim are wrong. Shmuel says the question was, can a fourth degree make a fifth degree tumah? And the answer is it can't. So the Kahanim were right by saying that it cannot make it tumah. Says the Gemara, if it's according to Rav, that what? That the question was, can a third degree make a fourth degree tumah? It says in Pasuk Arba. The Pasuk lists 4 items. The Pasuk says if you have a rat that touched a piece of bread, so now the bread is first degree, then the piece of bread touched the lentils, which the lentil is second degree, then the lentils touched a wine, which is a third degree. The question was, does the wine, which is a third degree, make it fourth degree tumah? So that makes no sense according to that. And the answer is it could. But according to Shmuel, which says that the question was, can the fourth degree make a fifth degree tumah? Where do we find this in the pasuk? Where do we see in the pasuk where in the question the Chagi asked them that there were 5 items over here? Says the Gemara, answers the Gemara, v'naga knafe. Does it say that the bread, the first thing, the bread touched a rat directly? V'naga b'knafe ksiv. It doesn't say that the rat touched the bread directly. Maybe the bread touched, let's say, another piece of bread, and that piece of bread touched the rat. So the question was, does a fourth degree make a fifth degree tumah or not? And the Kahanim said it's not. It cannot make a fifth degree tumah, and they were right. So we just had to argue what the question was, and according to that, the question is pretty simple because that's what says in the pasuk. According to Shmuel, we have to see how that fits with the pasuk, and the answer was that when Chagi asked them about the tumah, he meant to ask if a fourth degree tumah is able to make something a fifth degree tumah. Okay, says the Gemara. Tashma, Gemara is going to ask a question on that. Tashma, the Gemara says, it says in pasuk another question. Chagi asked them. Chagi asked them, "Vayemer Chagai im yiga tamei nefesh b'chol eila." So until now we spoke about Chagi asked them that if a rodent touched a piece of bread, and the piece of bread touched the lentils, and the lentils touched the wine, and the wine touched the oil, what's the din? The pasuk says there's another question. The question was if a dead person touched the bread, and then the bread touched the lentils, and then the lentils touched the wine, and then the wine touched the oil, what would be the din of the oil? So the first question was about a rodent. The second question was exactly the same question, but about a dead person. And Chagi asked them, would the oil become tummy or not? The Kahanim said that he is tummy, meaning the oil would become tummy. Unlike by a rodent, that they answered he won't become tummy. Regarding a dead person, it would become tummy. Says the Gemara, according to Shmuel, just like over here the Kahanim were right. That over here, just like over here the Kahanim were right. That he is metame. So too, in the first answer, it makes a lot of sense because that's the din. The din is that if a dead person touches a piece of bread, and the piece of bread touches a road, and the piece of bread touches wine, lentils, and the lentils touches wine, and the wine touches oil, the din is that it's tummy. So it makes sense. According to Shmuel says that in the first question they were right. Why? Because the first question was if a fifth degree tumah could touch a fourth degree tumah, could matame a fifth degree tumah. The answer that it cannot, and they were right. So over here also it makes sense that they're right. We know they're right. So according to Shmuel, it makes sense that the Kahanim got both questions right. But according to Rav, that says the last question they got it wrong because Rav touched the question differently. He said the question was, can a third degree make a fourth degree tumah? And the Kahanim got the answer wrong. Why suddenly the Kahanim got that question wrong and this question they got right? The din is taka that if a dead person touches a piece of bread, and the piece of bread touches the lentil touches a piece of touches wine, and the wine touches oil, the oil would become tummy. And the Kahana got that right. So why suddenly, when it comes to a dead person, they got the answer right, but when it came to the same question, touching a rodent, they didn't know the answer. So according to Shmuel, that they knew the answers, both answers, and they were writing both answers, makes a lot of sense. According to Rav, what's the reasoning that they made a mistake in one question and they got the other question right? Says the Gemara answers, Amar Nachman says in the name of Ravua, regarding Tumas Mace, they were baki, they knew the din already. Because Tumas Mace was more often or whatever it was, so therefore they knew the din already. If you're speaking about Tumas Sheretz not so often. Yeah, Tumah of a rose is not so often. So they didn't know the din, so they made a mistake in the din. That's one answer. Another answer is Ravina says, Hasam, in the first answer, Ravi, the question was, can a third degree tumah make a fourth degree tumah? And they made a mistake and they never knew. Hacha, but over here the question was shlishi. The question was, can a second degree tumah make a third degree tumah? So that they knew, and that's what they got right. So Ravina retranslates the question that there were two different questions. The first question was, can a third degree tumah make a fourth degree tumah? And they answered that he can't, and they were wrong, that he can't. Over here, the question was more of a lenient question. The second question was, can a second degree tumah make a third degree tumah? And that they knew, so they got right. So there were two different questions, so they got one they got right, one they got wrong. Says the Gemara further, Tashema asking a question on Shmuel. Chagi said, Vayan, it says in the pasuk, Vayan Chagai, Vayan Mekena Mazeh v'chin Agayazeh lifnei Hashem, lefane no Hashem. Says in the pasuk that Chagi said that this should be the word. This should be this should be the din in front of Hashem. Meaning that Chagi said everything the Kohanim would do should be tummy. So the pasuk in the pasuk is that Chagi was saying, since the Kohanim got the questions wrong, so he's not going to let these Kohanim serve Mesa Mikdash. So Bishlam pointed out that they got the questions wrong. That's why Chagi is saying that everything these Kohanim touch should be tummy, because these Kohanim don't know the rules of tummy. But according to Shmuel says they got the questions right. Am I tummy? Why? What's wrong with what the Kohanim? Why is he saying everything the Kohanim touch should be tummy? They got the questions right. They know the rules. So the Gemara is masma. Chagi wasn't saying that everything they touch should become tummy. Chagi was wondering, these Kohanim who know the dinim, you're going to tell me that everything they're going to touch will become tummy? No, they've known since they know the dinim, everything they touch is toy. So Chagi wasn't asking that everything it touches is going to be tummy. Adrab, he was saying that everything it touches will be toy. He was wondering, you're going to tell me that these people who know the dinim so well, everything they touch is going to be tummy? So Chagi was saying, as a hope for Jewish nation, that the Kohanim, there's a new generation of Kohanim who know the dinim. Says the Gemara, it says clear in Pasuk that everything they're going to touch doesn't come tummy. It doesn't say that Chagi was asking a question. It says that Chagi says everything they touch will become tummy. On Mazutra, the Gemara answers, Mazutra, some people say it was Ravashi, since Chagi was giving a nevuah that eventually the Kohanim are going to mess up, they're going to do a lot of Avedas. So therefore, Chagi was giving a nevuah, since eventually they can do a lot of Avedas. So the Torah's the pasuk is Ma'al of Akash. The pasuk is speaking about the Kohanim as if that they brought kabbalas in Tumah. So basically, it wasn't talking about that. It was speaking about Chagi was giving a nevuah that eventually there's going to be a time that even if the Kohanim know the dinim, since they're going to do a lot of Avedas, so whatever they're going to bring is going to be tummy. Okay, so that's how we answer the question. Saikon to Rav, Saikon to Shmuel. Says the Gemara further. Gufa. We learned before. So now the Gemara is going back all the way back to the Eidos of Rabbi Yosef ben Yezer. We said before, we started off saying that Yosef ben Yezer was made, gave Eidos and Mesa Mikdash. The liquid in Mesa Mikdash wasn't tummy. Could never become tummy. Which liquid are we talking about? So the machlekes. Gufa, we learned before, Rav says, Mashke base mit bachaya. The liquid that Yosef ben Yezer was talking about doesn't become tummy. He's speaking about the blood and the water that they use to wash the kabbanis. It's not speaking about the wine and the oil and all these things. It's speaking about the wine. It's speaking about the blood and the water that they use to wash the kabbanis before they bring the carbon mizbeach. That liquid is tar. That's Rav Shita. Levi says no. Mashke base mad b'chaya. Mid b'chaya means a slaughterhouse. So yes, Miaz is saying the liquid of the slaughter is tar. Levi had a different girsa. He said mashke be mad b'chaya, the liquid of the mizbeach. What's the liquid of the mizbeach? The liquid of the mizbeach is not only blood, but it's also the wine they were pouring in the mizbeach, and the water they were pouring in the mizbeach and sukkahs, and the oil of the karbanis. All these things, according to Levi, are all tar. So there's a big machlekes between Rav and Levi. According to Rav, only the blood and the water is tar. Any other liquid, if you're going to have a rodent touch oil in the Beis Hamikdash, is going to be tamei. According to Levi, any liquid which has to do with any of the karbanis is tar. Says the Gemara, Levi, according to Levi, that says that the wine and liquid Beis Hamikdash is tar. It makes sense if you hold Shmuel, like Shmuel, the Amad, Dachan, Minatame, Thomas Acherim, Abba Thomas Atzmur, Yashlehem. Shmuel says that we learned about this before, that when Rabbi Yosef ben Yezer came to say that the liquid is tar, he didn't mean to say the actual liquid is tar. He meant to say that the liquid is tamei, but it can't be matame anything else. So Mishkachas, we can have a case, the case that we saw before of Chagi, the case that oil can become tamei. How can oil become tamei? If you're going to have bread, you're going to have a sharet touch a piece of bread, and a piece of bread is going to touch lentils, the lentils are going to touch wine, and the wine is going to touch oil. So even though wine and oil are part of the mizbeach, are liquid mizbeach, the nagir kol b'nishen. If they touch a nishen, if they touch something that touches that person, so then Chagi's case makes sense. Why? Because it could be they could become tamei. Because the Yosef Miyad's chiddush wasn't that they don't become tamei. Yosef's chiddush was they can't become tamei anything else. So that was not a condition. Just to clarify, Chagi asked the din, can oil Beis Hamikdash become tamei? And the Kahanim answered whatever they answered. According to Levi, Levi just said that oil and wine cannot become tamei. So how does that fit together with Chagi? So you're going to have to tell me that we already explained last time that Shmuel says that which Yosef Miyaz said that the liquid doesn't become tamei. It didn't mean the actual liquid doesn't become tamei. He meant that the liquid cannot be matame anything else. So Chagi was asking if the liquid will become tamei, and Yosef Miyaz was made that any time the liquid could become tamei, but it cannot be matame anything else. Ali Savar Kerav, if you hold according to Rav, Rav says the liquid can never become tamei. How are you going to find the case, Chagi's case, that wine and oil become tamei? You can never have wine and oil become tamei, because wine and oil is, according to Levi, wine and oil is wine and oil is liquid from Beis Hamikdash, and therefore wine and oil can never become tamei. So what's the case of Chagi that wine and oil can become tamei? So you're gonna have to tell me that Levi holds like Shmuel, that Levi holds the anytime wine and oil could become tamei. And the chiddush is they can't become tamei anything else. Okay, so again we're mixing up two machlekes over here. We have one machlekes, Rav and Shmuel. Rav and Levi, sorry. Rav says that only the liquid from the mizbeach cannot become tamei. Any other liquid could become tamei. So wine and oil could become tamei. Levi says only the liquid all the liquids in the mizbeach can never become tamei. They're always tar. If the liquid is always tar, how do we have the case of Chagi? Chagi asked, can oil become tamei? What do you mean if can oil become tamei? We just said that Levi holds the oil can never become tamei. Elamai, you're gonna have to bring in a new argument over it. We have a new argument that when did we say it cannot become tamei? It didn't mean to say it can't become tamei, that it can never become tamei itself. We meant to say they can never metame anything else. Meaning if you have oil in Beis Hamikdash that became tamei, it cannot be metame anything else. So that makes sense. Then Shmuel, so according to Shmuel, now Shmuel goes according to Shmuel. I said before that Shmuel, according to Shmuel, that said before that the if Shmuel according to Rav, the Tani Shmuel said again. I'm just going back to the machlokes before. Shmuel said that when the Chagi asked the Kahanim if oil could become tummy, and they answered that the oil does not become tummy. Why does the oil not become tummy? Because Shmuel said that we're speaking in a case that the fourth degree tumah touch a fifth degree tumah, and therefore the oil doesn't become tummy. So if Shmuel holds like Rav, the Tani Mashkim is Bechayon. If Shmuel like Rav, the oil is able to become tummy, only blood isn't able to become tummy. Mashkim is Mad Bechaya Chlini Nam Metamu. Reveal the Levi Chamishi. Hashnish Ab Levi. Hashnish Ab Levi. What's the chiddush? If Shmuel holds according to Rav that only blood becomes tummy, that only blood doesn't become tummy. Levi holds the Levi Chamishi. Hashnish Ab Chamishi. Only wine that's a Revi doesn't make a there's a fourth degree tumah doesn't make a fifth degree tumah. Hashlishi Ab Revi. But if you had a third degree tumah, it can make a fourth degree tumah. So according to Shmuel said the Kahanim were right. And you must say holds according to Rav, because the Rav says that oil could become tummy. Only blood can become tummy. So what was Chagi's question? Chagi's question was, if you have a fourth degree tumah touch a fifth degree tumah, then it's not tummy. But if you have a third degree tumah touch a fourth degree tumah, it would become tummy, because oil is able to become tummy. But if you say if you tell me the Shmuel like Levi that oil can never become tummy, the Tani Mashkim is in the Chaya that he holds the liquid of the Mikdash can never become tummy. Why did Chagi ask them if a fourth degree tumah can make a fifth degree tumah? He should have asked a much better question. Can a first degree tumah or second degree tumah make a third degree tumah? Because if he's trying to test them, then, and according to Levi, there's no such thing as liquid becoming tummy. So instead of Chagi asked him a far-fetched case of a fourth degree tumah touching a fifth degree tumah. That's the much more Potash case. Can liquid become tummy? And the answer would be no, because according to Levi, the answer liquid can never become tummy. Really, you have to tell me that Shmuel holds according to Rav. That Shmuel holds that when Yisrael said liquid doesn't become tummy, it didn't mean all liquids don't become tummy. He meant to say the liquid of the Beis Hamikdash, the liquid of the blood and the water, that doesn't become tummy, but oil does become tummy. Now the Gemara just finishes off. Tanakh said the Rav, Tanakh said the Levi. We have a Brayso that says according to Rav, and a Brayso says according to Levi. What's the Brayso says according to Rav? Tanakh said the Levi. What's the Brayso says according to Levi? We have one Brayso. The Brayso says Hadam v'Yayin v'Hashem v'Mayim. The Brayso says blood and wine and oil and water. Mashke based b'chayo, and any liquid of the mizbeach shenitmu b'fnim veitzim b'chutz that became tummy inside the Beis Hamikdash, and you took them outside. Tahiri not tahir. But nitnu b'chutz if they became tummy outside Beis Hamikdash, ve'echnisam b'fnim tmeim, and you brought them inside the tummy. What do we see from here? We see from here that oil doesn't become tummy. There's clear Brayso. The Brayso says that if you have oil that became tummy inside Beis Hamikdash and then you took it outside, so that oil is tahir. Why? Because when it becomes tummy in the Beis Hamikdash, and oil isn't tummy in the Beis Hamikdash. So that goes according to Levi that says oil doesn't never become tummy. So that just the Gemara gets me carried away for a second. The Gemara asks, Eini, is it true that if it became tummy inside and you took it outside, it's tahir? My lab lemotish nitu b'fnim v'tzin l'chutz. Rabbi Yeshua Levi said that when is it tahir? It's only tahir inside Beis Hamikdash, but if you take it outside, it now becomes tummy. So Gemara says, he doesn't mean to say that if it becomes tummy inside and you take it outside, you take it outside, it becomes tummy. He meant to say that if it became tummy outside Beis Hamikdash and you brought it inside Beis Hamikdash, then it becomes tummy. But if you have oil that became tummy inside Beis Hamikdash and then you took it outside, according to even according to Mishra, according to everyone, then it'll be tahir. So we have a clear brayso according to Levi. Again, Levi says oil can never become tummy, and we have a brayso that says oil can never become tummy. Says the Gemara, but it says in the Brayso, if Rabbi Shmuel Levi said that they tar only inside Beis Hamikdash, what does it mean that if you take them outside, it's still tar? So Hachikam, the Gemara answers, we only said that it's tar if it became tummy inside Beis Hamikdash. Once it becomes tummy inside Beis Hamikdash, even if you take it outside, it's still going to be tar. But if you're going to have oil which became tummy outside Beis Hamikdash, even if you're going to bring it inside Beis Hamikdash, it's still going to be tummy. So we're going to stop over here, but the quote over here is that we just brought a brayso for Levi. Levi says oil and wine can never become tummy. We have a clear brayso that says oil and wine can never become tummy. We're going to bring tomorrow. We're going to bring a Rai for Rav. Rav said the oil and wine could become tummy, And we're going to bring a proof for Rav's Shita tomorrow in Pesachim. Okay, have a good night.